Hey everyone, 99% of you watching aren't subscribed. Let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and at 1,000 subscribers, we'll drop special stories just for you.
At 6:12 a.m. Universal Time Coordinated, the sky blinked. Not darkened, not exploded. It blinked, like reality itself had stuttered. Across every continent, the same phenomenon unfolded. A distortion rippled outward from a single point above the Atlantic Ocean, bending light into impossible angles. Commercial airliners banked sharply as instruments failed. Astronauts aboard orbital stations watched in stunned silence as space itself appeared to crease like folded fabric. Then the first ship emerged. It did not descend so much as resolve, as if it had always been there, waiting for the universe to refresh around it. Its surface reflected nothing correctly. Clouds wrapped around it like liquid silk. Sunlight fractured along edges too sharp to belong to any human design. Within 30 seconds, 2 became 10. 10 became thousands. By 6:20 a.m., 1 million vessels hovered in perfect geometric formation around the planet, evenly spaced, covering every major landmass and oceanic expanse. They did not crowd cities. They did not aim weapons. They simply held position. The hum followed. It was low at first, below the threshold of hearing. Dogs howled. Whales changed course mid-migration. Sensitive hostile equipment began to vibrate against stainless steel trays. Then the sound climbed, slowly, until humans could feel in their rib cages. The world froze in collective awareness. Markets halted trading in under 90 seconds. Military satellites locked onto targets they could not calculate mass for. Nuclear submarines received coded confirmations they had trained for but never believed would arrive. DEFCON 1. Across continents, leaders were rushed into hardened bunkers. Emergency summits formed via secure holographic links. No one spoke first, because the ships did nothing. At 6:47 a.m., the first beam descended. It was not a weapon. It was a column of pale silver light that touched the Sahara Desert and held steady, like a celestial measuring instrument. Within it, a figure took shape, 3 meters tall, humanoid in silhouette, encased in seamless black armor that seemed poured rather than constructed. No joints, no visible seams. Its surface swallowed brightness instead of reflecting it. The alien stepped forward onto sand that immediately crystallized beneath its feet. Simultaneously, 999,999 other beams struck Earth. The aliens landed in rainforests and mountain peaks, in tundra and coral reefs. One emerged through the surface of the Pacific Ocean as if water were air. Another materialized atop the Himalayas without disturbing a snowflake. They arrived evenly distributed, like a survey grid, and then they began to walk. No aggression, no hesitation, no reaction to humans nearby. They ignored cities entirely. Instead, they moved toward wilderness, fault lines, ancient formations, places untouched or half forgotten. A soldier walked directly past a small village in Mongolia. Residents watched from rooftops as it crossed a steppe, its stride precise and mechanical, leaving faint geometric impressions in the grass. In Brazil, one passed within meters of a highway traffic jam. Drivers stood outside their vehicles, phones raised, tears streaking faces. The soldier did not look at them, if it could look. The helmets were smooth mirrors, reflecting humanity back at itself. By midday, global command centers realized something else. The aliens were scanning. Energy readings pulsed outward from each soldier in rhythmic waves. The waves penetrated rock, ice, ocean floor, reaching deep beneath the crust. Data flooded observatories. Gravimetric anomalies, electromagnetic interference, neutrino fluctuations. They weren't mapping cities. They were mapping down. At 2:13 p.m., the first anomaly occurred. A soldier traversing the Australian outback paused mid-stride. For the first time, one deviated from its perfect cadence. It tilted its head, slightly, as if listening to something only it could perceive. Satellites zoomed in. Military drones circled overhead. The air around the soldier shimmered. Its armor fractured into luminous lines, like cracks spreading through glass. A vibration rippled outward in a tight sphere, kicking dust into a perfect ring around it. Then it collapsed inward, not falling, not exploding. It folded into a pinpoint of light and vanished. The desert returned to stillness. No debris, no radiation spike, no crater. Within the hour, 3 more soldiers disappeared. One near the Mariana Trench, another in the Siberian permafrost, another deep in the Congo Basin. Global panic reignited. Humanity assumed internal malfunction. Sabotage. Hidden defense systems triggered. But then the pattern accelerated. Hundreds vanished by sunset. Thousands by midnight. Every disappearance followed the same sequence. Pause. Tilt, fracture, erasure. As if something hadn't noticed them. And objected. In Geneva, Dr. Lara Meyer stood before a bank of monitors tracking the losses. Her colleagues murmured in disbelief as red markers blinked out across a world map. "They're not being destroyed," someone said. "No," Ilara whispered, eyes fixed on seismic readings spiking just beneath each vanished location. "They're being answered." Outside the observatory, the sky remained crowded with 1,000,000 silent ships, above a trembling world. And beneath humanity's feet, something ancient stirred for the first time in ages. By the 4th day, the world had stopped pretending this was an invasion. Invasions had demands. They had violence. They had strategy. This had none. The alien soldiers continued their silent pilgrimage across Earth's untouched places, and Earth continued removing them. Dr. Lara Meyer had not slept in 31 hours. The Geneva Observatory hummed with generators and whispered arguments as screens flooded with global telemetry. Every disappearance left behind the same fingerprint, a micro-lensing event in space-time, measurable for only a fraction of a second. The distortion was so subtle that it would have gone unnoticed if they hadn't been looking. But now they were looking at everything. "Another one down," a technician said quietly. "Northern Canada. Arctic Circle." Paused. Tilted. Gone. Ilara overlaid the vanishing sites on a global geological map. Fault lines flared like glowing scars. Subduction zones pulsed. The Pacific Ring of Fire resembled a heartbeat, and the disappearances were clustering, not randomly, not defensively, precisely. "They're probing stress points," she murmured. "Stress points of what?" someone asked. Ilara didn't answer, because the deeper scans were worse. Each alien soldier emitted rhythmic scanning pulses that burrowed through crust and mantle. The energy wasn't destructive, it was diagnostic, like sonar searching for something massive and hidden. And something massive was responding. Seismic instruments began registering tremors that were too uniform to be natural. They weren't earthquakes, they were counterwaves. Perfectly timed, perfectly shaped. Every time a soldier scanned too deeply, a tremor rose to meet it, and the soldier vanished. Across the Atlantic, near the Azores, a soldier paused atop an underwater ridge. Deep-sea cameras captured its silhouette against hydrothermal vents. It raised one arm, just slightly. The ocean floor shifted, not violently, deliberately. The soldier fractured and disappeared. Whales fled the region in tight, frantic pods. By sunset, fewer than 100,000 soldiers remained. The 1,000,000 ships above Earth did not move. They did not retaliate. They did not deploy reinforcements. They waited. In New York, crowds gathered in Times Square beneath one of the hovering vessels. The ship's surface reflected the city in warped geometry, bending skyscrapers into spirals of light. People prayed, protested, filmed. A soldier had landed in Central Park that morning. It had walked the perimeter of the lake, paused at a bedrock outcrop older than the Appalachian Mountains, tilted its head, vanished. The grass never caught fire. The trees never burned. It was as if Earth itself had whispered something, and the soldier had been erased mid-listen. Inside a secure military briefing room, beneath the Alps, generals demanded answers. "Is this a planetary defense system?" one asked. "Built by whom?" another snapped. "We don't have this technology." Ilara stood before the projection screen, heart pounding. "It's not a system," she said carefully. "It's a response." She pulled up gravitational anomaly readings from the Mariana Trench. The The data formed a repeating pattern, low-frequency oscillations rising from deep mantle layers. Depth estimate, 2,900 kilometers, near the core mantle boundary. That's impossible, someone said. Nothing complex exists at those temperatures. Nothing we know of, Ilera replied. The room fell silent, because humanity had just watched 1 million extraterrestrial soldiers arrive in perfect formation. And now, more than 90% of them were gone. If the invaders possessed interstellar travel, adaptive armor, and planet-wide deployment capability, and Earth was eliminating them effortlessly, then Earth was not the weaker participant in this encounter. That night, something changed. The disappearances accelerated. Entire clusters of soldiers vanished within seconds of each other. From Patagonia to Madagascar to the Gobi Desert, black armored figures shimmered and folded into nothingness as synchronized tremors rippled beneath tectonic plates. Satellites recorded a brief but unmistakable fluctuation in Earth's magnetic field, like a pulse, like a muscle flexing. By the time dawn broke over Europe, fewer than 10,000 soldiers remained. The million ships in orbit adjusted formation for the first time, tightening slightly, like a flock sensing danger. Still no weapons, still no communication. Ilera stared at the global map, watching red markers blink out one by one. They miscalculated, she whispered. About what? She zoomed out, displaying Earth suspended in black space. Blue oceans, white clouds, fragile and small. They thought we were the dominant life form. Another marker vanished over the Andes. The room lights flickered. Seismic stations worldwide spiked in unison. One clean, resonant tremor that traveled along every major fault line on the planet. For half a second, all background noise ceased. No wind readings. No ocean swell data. No atmospheric interference. It was as if Earth held its breath. Then the tremor faded. 2,000 more soldiers disappeared simultaneously. On the Antarctic ice sheet, the last major cluster of aliens turned as one toward the southern horizon. For the first time, the soldiers reacted. They were no longer merely scanning. They were searching urgently. And whatever lay beneath the crust had begun to wake. Only one soldier remained. It stood on the Antarctic plateau, beneath a sky the color of bruised steel. Wind screamed across the ice in unbroken sheets, but they curved around the alien's frame as if repelled by an invisible boundary. Every satellite in orbit had pivoted to watch. The world had fallen into a strange, reverent silence. No one spoke during live broadcasts. No governments issued threats. No weapons were armed. Humanity was no longer waiting to fight. Humanity was waiting to see what would happen. Dr. Lara Myra stood in the Geneva Observatory, eyes locked on the live feed. The final soldier had walked for 30 hours without deviation, carving a straight, unwavering path toward the geographic South Pole. It stopped. For the first time since arrival, the alien did not immediately scan. It stood perfectly still. Then it knelt. The movement was subtle, almost ceremonial. One armored hand pressed flat against the ice. Every seismic station on Earth detonated in data. A spike erupted from beneath Antarctica, not sharp like an earthquake, but vast and deep, rolling upward from the mantle like the rise of something colossal shifting its weight. The ice beneath the soldier fractured in a perfect circle, fissures radiating outward for miles. Orbiting satellites briefly lost altitude readings. Gravity fluctuated, not by much, but enough. Depth? Someone whispered in Geneva. Ilera's fingers flew over a console. Signal origin, below the crust, below the mantle. Her voice faltered. Core mantle boundary. Nearly 3,000 kilometers down. Impossible. The alien soldier rose abruptly, as if startled. Its helmet tilted, not downward now, but toward the horizon, toward everything. Across the planet, electronic devices flickered. Screens fuzzed with static. Aircraft instruments scrambled. Heart monitors in hospitals skipped a beat. Then humanity heard it, not through speakers, not through radio. Inside their skulls, a vibration that bypassed language and yet translated perfectly. This world is occupied. The words carried no hostility. No rage, only certainty. In Antarctica, the final soldier's armor fractured. Not slowly this time. Instantly, lines of light spidered across its body, brighter than the polar sun. The air bent inward around it, ice lifting from the surface in spiraling sheets as if drawn by gravitational collapse. For a fraction of a second, something appeared beneath the soldier, visible only because the ice became translucent. A shadow, vast, curved like the spine of something older than continents. Then the soldier folded into itself and vanished. The ice resealed. The wind resumed. And for 3 full seconds, the planet was quiet. In orbit, the million ships reacted. Their formation broke with surgical precision. Engines ignited not explosively, but urgently. No weapons deployed. No retaliation fired. They fled. Humanity watched in stunned disbelief as 1 million alien vessels accelerated away from Earth simultaneously, curving past the moon and vanishing into interstellar darkness within minutes. No parting shot. No transmission. Just retreat. Deep beneath Antarctica, the tremor continued. Not violent. Measured. Across tectonic plates. Faint harmonic vibrations traveled like a planetary exhale. Volcano monitoring stations detected pressure fluctuations that stabilized almost immediately. Ocean trenches emitted low-frequency pulses that confused sonar systems worldwide. Ilera replayed the global data again and again. The message had not originated from orbit. It had not come from the alien ships. It had come from below, from something embedded in Earth's deepest boundary layer, older than the crust, older than the oceans, perhaps older than the moon. An indigenous intelligence, she whispered. Someone laughed nervously. That's absurd. Is it? She replied softly. The alien soldiers had been engineered for conquest. Their deployment grid had been mathematically flawless. Their scanning technology pierced planetary defenses, and yet they had not prepared for a world that already belonged to something else. Not humans, something older, something patient, something that did not consider the surface worth revealing itself for, until provoked. In the days that followed, seismic readings returned to normal. Magnetic fields stabilized. The Antarctic ice showed no lasting damage. If not for the global recordings, humanity might have convinced itself it had imagined the entire event. But the message lingered. This world is occupied, not protected, not defended. Occupied, as if Earth were not merely a habitat, but a residence. And whatever resided within it made a simple, unambiguous statement. The million alien soldiers had come prepared to conquer a civilization. They had not realized they were stepping onto a sovereign planet. Far beyond the heliosphere, in the dark between stars, 1 million empty soldier pods drifted cold and useless. And beneath Antarctica, at the boundary where rock becomes molten sea, something immense adjusted its position and settled back into watchful stillness. The world tried to return to normal. It failed. Airplanes resumed schedules. Markets reopened. Politicians gave speeches about resilience and unity. Streaming services released documentaries titled The Million Who Vanished. Children in classrooms drew black armored giants beneath silver ships. But beneath the routine, something had shifted. Earth no longer felt passive. It felt inhabited. Dr. Ilera Myra found sleep impossible. Not from fear, but from awareness. The data archives from the Antarctic event filled entire servers. She replayed the seismic harmonics nightly, isolating frequencies buried beneath the core mantle signal. There was a structure in it, not language exactly, but pattern, repeating intervals that resembled breath. Weeks after the departure, the dreams began. At first, they were isolated reports. A fisherman in Norway, a subway operator in Tokyo, a child in Nairobi. All described the same vision. A vast ocean beneath the crust, not water, but molten light. In it drifted shapes too large to comprehend, their bodies etched in glowing lines like constellations. They moved slowly, gracefully, like whales navigating gravity instead of water. And one presence larger than the rest, watching upward, watching the surface. Psychologists dismissed it as collective trauma, viral myth, cultural contagion. Then heads of state began reporting the same dream. So did astronauts aboard orbital stations. So did people with no knowledge of the Antarctic signal. The consistency was impossible. Ilera had the dream on the 33rd night after the ships fled. She stood on a shoreline of black stone. Above her arched the planet's interior. Not solid rock, but translucent layers glowing with inner fire. Far below, something vast coiled through magma currents, bioluminescent patterns rippling across its surface like thought made visible. It did not speak in words. It did not need to. She felt recognition, not of herself individually, but of humanity as a whole, as surface organisms. Temporary and fragile, yet valued. A thought pressed gently into her awareness. You are young. You are permitted. She woke with tears on her face. The scientific anomalies intensified, not catastrophically. Subtly, deep-sea drones exploring hydrothermal vents began capturing brief, distorted silhouettes beyond their light range. Curved structures embedded in basalt, pulsing faintly before vanishing from sensors. Gravitational mapping satellites detected micro-adjustments in mantle density, as if something enormous were redistributing its mass. Volcanoes entered periods of unusual stability. Fault lines that historically threatened major cities grew quiet. It was not aggression. It was maintenance. Earthquakes that would have devastated coastal populations dissipated before reaching critical magnitude. Pressure released in controlled increments, as if guided. Governments classified the data immediately. But scientists talk, and the pattern became undeniable. The thing beneath Earth was not merely awake. It was attentive. 6 months after the invasion, that wasn't. A deep space observatory detected something extraordinary. A cluster of alien vessels, matching the retreating fleet's energy signature, had stopped at the outer edge of the solar system. They did not advance. They did not transmit. They observed. For 3 days, they held position. Then a tremor rolled through Earth, not destructive, but resonant. A harmonic vibration that traveled from core to crust, gentle but unmistakable. Every ocean tide shifted by centimeters. Auroras flared across both poles simultaneously. The message followed, not in language, not in sound, but in shared human awareness. Boundary established. At the edge of the solar system, the alien vessels altered trajectory. They departed. This time they did not pause. Ilera stood once more at the Geneva Observatory balcony, staring at a sky empty of metallic wounds. Stars shone normally now. Fragile. Distant. She wondered how many other worlds were guarded like this. How many planets bore ancient tenants beneath their crusts, shepherding primitive surface life through cosmic adolescence. Humanity had feared extinction. Instead, it had learned it was not alone in its own home. The dreams did not stop, but they softened, no longer urgent, no longer watchful, just present. A reminder, deep beneath tectonic plates and oceans of fire, something immense drifted through molten currents older than continents. Its body traced luminous arcs against the dark interior, patterns that predated biology. It did not rule. It did not interfere unnecessarily. It simply endured. A custodian, a landlord, an ancient intelligence that had chosen, for reasons unknown, to let mammals evolve on its ceiling. And when 1 million alien soldiers came to claim the surface, it answered, not with war, not with spectacle, but with certainty. This world is occupied, and beneath the quiet continents, the old tenants settled once more into patient stillness, waiting through centuries, through civilizations, through stars shifting in the galactic tide, just in case someone else forgot.